Lego Star Wars. Do I really need to say any more? Welcome to Total Reviews, the web show where we take a look at games of interest and see if they really are worth a purchase, in partnership with Games Planet, where you can purchase games like our choice today at a discounted rate from an officially licensed game seller. Today is an immediate favourite from me, as I take a look at Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Before I continue with the review, I'm going to apologise right now for any spoilers of any films that may be in here. I also apologise for any bad impressions of Yoda, which inevitably may appear somewhere in this review. Developed by Traveller's Tales, which developed the other games in the series too, this seems to be the most in-depth Lego Star Wars game ever created, and the amount of space it takes on the hard drive certainly points towards an either terribly optimised assets or levels, either that or a lot of gameplay. Given the track record for these games, it was easy to assume that the 14GB needed was for content, not poor design. Available on both PC and Mac, as well as the PS4 and Xbox One, the system specs are reasonable, with a Core 2 Duo running at 2.4GHz or the AMD Phenom equivalent, 4GB of RAM and a 1GB GeForce GT 430 graphics card or equivalent needed on a PC at minimum. Macs require only a 1.8GHz processor, also with 4GB of RAM, but only a 512MB graphics card. Interestingly enough, the specs also state for an extra 4GB of hard drive space on the Mac. 18GB. That's kind of interesting for the extra 4. It just comes out of nowhere. I don't know why it's actually an extra 4GB, but there we go. A note for those who use PCs that have both integrated and dedicated graphics cards, you may find that by default it picks up the integrated card over the dedicated, so you'll want to go into your graphics card configuration options and set the game to choose the dedicated card at all times. Otherwise you will be struggling in the menu, let alone the game. Starting with the menu, unlike the prequels, and more like Lego Jurassic World, this game had a lovely animated menu with all the standard Lego humour one would expect. Setting up a new game was as easy as you could get in a Lego game, just a few clicks and you're underway. But being picky, I was disappointed that the autosave is now BB-8 as opposed to Yoda, but hey, that's just me being me. Without giving away too much about the game, it starts in episode 6 and the Battle of Endor, which was very welcoming to me. It seems like that was the entire tutorial level, but being a veteran of many Lego games dating back more than 10 years, I found it very easy to get back into it. My biggest issue at the start of the game was getting used to the controls, as I was using a PS3 controller that was being emulated as an Xbox controller, but all the letters or all the buttons were apparently supposed to be an Xbox, so my X was actually a square, the Y was a triangle, the A was an X and the B was a circle, so it had all of that, so I had to get used to all of that. Speaking of controllers, at the time of this review it seems that the game would crash every time I tried to change the controls for some odd reason with this PS3 controller. It seems like something that needs to be patched. For those of you who are new to the series, what exactly is Lego Star Wars and why on earth does it have the following that it does? Well, it is, as you can see on the screen, a Lego version of Star Wars. You play through the Star Wars saga as various characters throughout the episodes in an action-adventure style, destroying everything you can and collecting Lego studs, which then allow you to purchase more items and characters for the game, as well as some extras, many of them silly like squeaky voices or big heads, but some serious like collectible locators. You also go around looking for secret items, which in this game are in the form of gold bricks, red bricks, and the infamous mini kits, which I've spent hour upon hour searching for in the past. Once you go through the story, it's not over though, as there's a free play mode where you can go back to any level you want and play it as any character you want. This is required if you want to clock the game, as each level has areas or items that cannot be accessed by the characters that you would be playing as in the story mode. This in itself adds a whole bunch of replay value to the game, and with this particular title being as huge as it is, I would imagine that it would be a very large game indeed. Getting into the game, I was excited for a number of reasons. 1. This would be the first Lego game I have played in a long time. 2. This was the first Lego Star Wars game I had played in quite a few years. And 3, I wanted to see just how the game had developed from 2005, which is when the original Lego Star Wars was released. The answer to the last one? Very, very far. The game still has that classic LEGO feel to it, but coupled to it with a whole bunch of new mechanics such as multi-builds, which give you a choice of what to make from the same set of LEGO blocks, and blaster battles, which were like mini-games in themselves. And whilst not really difficult, were quite fun. Then they had all these new gameplay features in which you need to press the correct button at a certain time or a number of times, or quickly, or push the analog stick in a certain direction, or spin it around for an action to take place. And compared to the older games, which were pretty much just 4 buttons and an analog stick, this seemed a lot more in-depth and wholly better for it. There are 10 main story chapter levels available in the game, as well as the prologue and some adventure levels, which is pretty impressive. And what is really impressive is the size of the levels, the sheer size of them, and also the areas between levels. There's a lot to do whether you're following along with the story or just trying to go off exploring on your own. And whilst 10 does not sound like much, having played 3 in just story mode took me little over 4 hours. And in that, I did miss a whole bunch of mini-kits. I did not get the true Jedi status in one chapter, and a true Jedi status is when you collect a certain number of studs. And whilst exploring as much as I could, I did not look absolutely everywhere. I would say that for someone who really wants to get into this game and find everything, you're looking at a good 25 to 35 hours of game time, replaying levels with different characters, and just having an absolute blast. I can certainly see myself doing that, provided I get the characters with lightsabers, which in the Deluxe Edition you're given a DLC from the get-go, which contains characters back from episode 5. Happily, this isn't required for you to enjoy the content available, which is incredible, so I'm okay with this type of DLC. The Deluxe Edition also includes a season pass which adds 3 level packs to the game, allowing you to experience more of the film Force Awakens in different ways and from different points of view. Either have a look with Poe, or Kylo Ren, or the Resistant pilots as you go through different plots in the film and at different sequences and see it from that opposite point of view. It's kind of interesting how they've done that. On top of that, the Season Pass contains 5 character packs which I was quite happy about. The Jedi Pack, the Prequel Trilogy, the Freemaker Adventures, Star Wars Rebels, and the Clone Wars. Though at the time of this review, only the Jedi Pack is out. Sad times. In total, there seem to be over 200 different characters you can play as, many of which have their own abilities, giving you a dozen or so different ways to play the game. And yes, when you put them all together, you are talking about having the likes of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Count Dooku, Master Yoda, Anakin Skywalker, and more from across the Star Wars universe. On to the bugs of the game. Well, I mentioned the bug I found when setting up the controller, but aside from that, there only seems to be one more bug that I found that's of any relevance, though it is a very, very annoying one. You can get stuck. And by stuck, I mean you find yourself in a part of a level which seems to be impossible to get out of, and the only way I've found so far to get out of it is by quitting the game. And this has happened to me twice since, once in the prologue with Darth Vader, and I wasn't even playing as Darth Vader, I was playing as Luke Skywalker, and when I switched over to Darth Vader, I just found myself in this stuck place. And second was on Jakku with Rey. And I was exploring an area and I seemed to get trapped behind some metal grids or something, and I couldn't do anything. So I hope this is something that's going to be patched up soon. Speaking about switching between levels, I found that a little bit different from the old Star Wars games. In the old Star Wars games, you were in some sort of cantina or something. I think it was either Dex's Diner or the Mos Eisley Cantina, and you'd just go around, and there would be 6. I think that actually there was 3. Yeah, there were 3 episodes. So you had 3 episodes in the first game, 3 episodes in the second game. The complete saga had 6, but you'd go in to one of the episodes through a hatchway, and then through there was like 6 chapters in that episode that you'd then go through. So you have a total of 18 chapters that you play with in one game, and it was very easy to get through. And once you finish the level, you just go back to the diner or whatever, and then go to another place. So it was very easy to go back and forth. On these ones, the actual spaces between the levels, like I said, are so huge, and I'll admit I got lost because there seems to be 3 or 4 different places, and I did genuinely get lost, and I'm not sure how to return back to the old levels or back to the old chapters. So I'm still trying to work that one out, and I hope that there is an easy way to do it, and I'm just not finding it. But it is something to be aware of. It does seem just a little bit confusing, but that's that. Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Is it a game for everyone? Yes, it most certainly is. Whether you're 6 years old or 60 years old, this is a game that you're going to find enjoyment out of. It's one of those games that you want to have in your collection, and you're going to go back to time and again, either on your own or playing with a friend or family member. And you'll be chuckling at the slapstick comedy and enjoying the story and music whilst going on an all-out rampage. All-out rampage, why? Because you want to collect all the Lego studs, you want to find all the mini kits, and you want to see if there are any more secrets to this fantastic game. I give this a well-deserved 90 out of 100. Why 90? What would make it 100? Well, if there was a Lego game that could take you from episode 1 to episode 9, complete with Rebels and Clone Wars and Rogue One, that would be 100. Yep. PC and Mac gamers, take a look at the link in the description box below to purchase this game from Games Planet at a discounted rate, as well as supporting me here. And the rest of you guys on PS4 and Xbox One, I heartily recommend that you pick this game up. In fact, I think I recommend it to everybody. It's one of those games that will put a smile on your face. May the Force be with you.